Well, when you have a supervisor that you believe is antagonistic, that is engaging in the type of conduct that is making it a very difficult workplace, the first question is, okay, is it just you or is it everybody? So some managers are just that way. They just can't help themselves. They're under a lot of stress or pressure. Their manager is on them for this, that, or the other. They have their goals and objectives that they want to meet, and they're just wound up. They got that, sort of fighting sort of mentality going, and they just snap at people, and they may use bad terms, and they may be loud, and they may be somewhat obnoxious. To some extent, if it's happening to everybody, you all have to just work together to try to make it as reasonable as possible. But if it's individualized, then that becomes a different scenario, right? So if your manager or a supervisor, with everybody else, they're nice as pie, but when it comes to you, they're snapping, they're mean, they're using all these bad terms, they're trying to find little things to nitpick. You're constantly looking over your shoulder. It's a little bit of a different scenario because now there's something that is amiss between your relationship with that manager. So the first step, number one, is figuring it out. What's their mindset? What is it that makes them believe that you're not a well-oiled cog in their machine? Because that's the way employees are looked at by management to a large extent. We have these employees here or there, and they are supposed to work together, and they're supposed to ultimately get the productivity that I'm looking for so that I do my job right and I'm viewed as a good manager. Why do you look at me as being a cog out of sync with everybody else or with you? What is your perception? And what is it that I need to do to change your perception? How can we find a win-win situation here? How can I make you achieve your goals and objectives? What is it that I'm not seeing? You have to try that first. That's your first step. And to some extent, I'd put it in writing, so you got a record of it, not just verbal. And that's all that goody two-shoes stuff that I want to do whatever it takes to make this organization better and make the company better and make sure that we're achieving our goals and objectives. So you put that on the record, that's your first step. If it still doesn't work and you still feel like it's a bad situation with you, you probably need to go above that manager's head and start using terms that will get noticed by the human resources or legal team or management team that there could be something legally amiss here. Now that could be some kind of legal discrimination or retaliation, could be a defamation or intentional, I call it intentional infliction of emotional distress or intentional infliction of intentional interference, I should say, in your job rights, which can be actionable. So these are all potential claims that could be legally asserted, and you probably would need to figure out where your hot buttons are. It's hard to do unless you consult with a lawyer that knows what's a good hot button to use and what's not. Because you don't want to make bogus claims of discrimination when you have really no basis in reality. But there's probably some hot buttons that you could push that could make a difference if you express them properly. Sometimes the best result is, on the one hand, let the lawyer push the hot button terms with the other lawyer of the company or with the human resource department. Meanwhile, when I do my job, I'm here to do the best job I can. I'm going to whistle while I work, and I'm going to make this company great. And I'm going to achieve all the goals and objectives. You put on that kind of a face. I've even told people you have to act like an actor or an actress. You have to put away that fight or flight mentality. You have to get in there and smile and tell a joke and tell everybody you're here to do your job and do it well and make everybody's life better. Now, you may not feel that way. You probably don't. it's hard to put away that fight or flight mentality when you're involved in a tough situation with a manager that you think is being unfair to you. But sometimes that's the best tactic. But if worse comes to worse, and it's still just ruining your life. You can't eat, you can't sleep, your home life's wrecked. All you do is think about work, talk about work. There's also medical options, leave of absence options. So those are options as well. So, there's a combination of using the company's policies regarding leaves of absence, regarding hotline calls, regarding using the chain of command, the open door policy, using a lawyer to express it properly. If worse comes to worse, you need to probably get away from it, at least for a time, so that you can negotiate a way to either come back under more acceptable terms, or if necessary, if you want to leave on your terms and find a better work life and a better company and not be killed financially, be able to preserve your unemployment benefits, be able to maybe negotiate some severance, that's the best approach at times. But it's obviously a situation, it's a case by case, there's no one size fits all here. It just kind of depends on where you're at in this entire spectrum of, okay, I'm just now understanding that I'm not being viewed as productive or as good as I used to be viewed, as opposed to, you know what, I'm like 1 foot out the door and they're just ready to give me another kick. So what you do at that time is based on where you're at in that spectrum, and then finding the way to appropriately express yourself in a way that the company will take notice of, and in a way will get you what you need, either on an ongoing relationship or not, as the case may be.